people may not know what the hell is going on, but here's a primer about the news that broke yesterday. So the Justice Department released an indictment. 2 Russian nationals were named in this indictment. And it says that right-wing commentators, and they are referred to as commentator 1, 2, 3, etc. But it's been people have been easily able to discern who is who
based on how many subscribers.
Based on their subscribers, right? So this is, I mean, the indictment here you can see is laid out where 2 Russian nationals, apparently, according to the DOJ, were responsible for an operation, an influence operation, where they laundered money through a company called Tenet, which is based in Tennessee, and spent nearly $10 million on efforts to influence public opinion by paying right-wing commentators to basically blame Ukraine and not Russia for Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. And the people who are named in this are not named, but you can easily discern it, and media outlets are Tim Pool, Dave Rubin.
Just to name 2
Benny Johnson.
Here.
Benny Johnson, yeah.
Founder 1 and Founder 2 also worked together to deceive 2 U.S. online commentators, Commentator 1 and Commentator 2, who respectively have, and this is where it gets specific, have over 2.4 million and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers. And
right.
I'm not sure which is which respectively. I think Rubin maybe 1.3 and Tim Pool 2.4.
No, I think Rubin is 1
it's
and
the opposite.
Tim Pool's 2.
It's the opposite.
Oh, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
Gotcha.
if you read more, it becomes very clear who each person is when you get down to who did what and what the deal was and what the terms are. I could tell you who every single person is. I figured it out.
Right,
Commentator 1 is Rubin. Commentator 2 is Tim Pool. Commentator 3 is Benny Johnson. Commentator 4 is Lauren Southern. Commentator 5 is Matthew Christensen, or that Taylor guy. And then commentator 6 is whoever. There's 2 who are basically nobodies in our world, who are like smaller right-wing creators, and they're commentator 5 and 6. They don't really matter much, other than the fact that they seem to be the ones who made the 2 Russian nationals the most happy in terms of happily sharing stuff.
More susceptible, honestly, to this flood of money, because this is just crazy. Let's pull up this Twitter thread put together by this writer, Ari Kovler, who kind of summarizes a lot of what the indictment says. So basically, one of these 2 intel agents was a part of internal conversations with Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan, and they determined in this part of the indictment how much they were going to pay Benny Johnson and Tim Pool. Can we click on this piece?
We should add that Lauren Chen was is in there as founder 1. Her husband is in there as founder 2. They were getting paid. They later get paid something like $25,000 per month. But before the media companies even launched, they're getting paid $8,000 per month just to find right-wing influencers to convince them to join Tenet. So they're already getting paid at this point before the media companies even launched.
Chen works for The Blaze, for Glenn Beck's company too. So
and Turning Point USA.
So these tentacles are everywhere. So Kalishnikov.
Who's not getting a taste? I guess the Daily Wire.
I guess so. Right. Right. I think that's true. Kalishnikov was one of the 2 participated in U.S. Company 1. This is Tenet, right? Messaging group comprised solely of Kalishnikov, founder 1, founder 2. That's Chen and her husband. And an individual purporting to act as a representative of U.S. Company 1's investor, Edward Grigorian, who was, in fact, a fake persona as described below. In that messaging group, Kalishnikov monitored discussions of, among other things, Tenet's funding, hiring, and contract negotiations with Commentator 1 and Commentator 2, who, as Binder has just identified, are Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. So
flipped. Rubin is 1, Pool is 2, because it matters when you get to how much they were being paid and what the deal was. Yes.
Which is fascinating because, as you say, so Chen was recruited here to, or Chen was tasked by these, Russian people, and
it does appear it does appear that Chen knows what's going on. They might have duped her with some of the fake aliases, but it does appear that Chen and her husband are aware that this is foreign money based on where it's coming from.
Is that time zone related issue, Binder? Am I understanding that correctly? How that's the circumstantial evidence toward that?
Well, they're getting paid from overseas companies. They're submitting their invoice through a Discord channel. There are very funny time zone issues, like Edward Gregorian's supposed to be in Paris, yet he shows up in a Zoom meeting he was supposed to have with either Ruben or Poole an hour early, and that's because say he was supposed to meet at 9 a.m. and it was like 8 a.m. in Paris, but he's in the room, but that's because it's 9 a.m. in Moscow. So he got and then he explained it by saying, "Oh, sorry, my calendar was out of sync from my travels," or something like that.
Of course. Keep track of stuff like that. Like, daylight savings is different in Europe too.
Also, the details behind the Edward Gregorian thing, when I went through it, I was cracking up. It is by far the most undercovered and most hilarious aspect of this whole thing. So this Edward Gregorian fake name, completely made up guy, he does not exist. There is no, like, if you Google searched him, nothing comes up. And Ruben and Poole questioned that. Like, they were sort of at first sort of iffy about joining because they wanted to know more about Edward Gregorian. And they did calls with a person purporting to be him. I told you the time zone thing. But one of the funniest things is Ruben, he's insisting on finding out more about Edward Gregorian. He says he can't go forward until he learns more about Edward Gregorian. So they make this like fake like profile, like magazine glossy page type thing. And it's actually in, if you scroll down in the indictment, it's there. And it has a little biography. There's a little Edward Gregorian biography, and the biography is hilarious.
Be in this thread.
But there's a funny thing. It's on page 13. So I'll read along with it because it's really funny what Dave Rubin says. Just get to page 13 of that indictment. And so I'll read the summary while you pull it up. So the summary of his profile is Edward Gregorian, experienced finance professional and investor, deeply engaged in business and philanthropy, leveraging skills and resources to drive positive impact, supporting a range of organizations worldwide with a dynamic presence mainly in Brussels and London, engaging in personal and professional pursuits in each location with a focus on poverty alleviation, championing free speech, and advocating for social justice causes. Now, here's the really funny thing. So that profile should be suspect to anyone because it's so vague, right? It's completely bullshit. But they almost lost Dave Rubin because Dave Rubin tells Lauren Chen after receiving this that he has a problem with the Edward Gregorian profile, specifically the reference to social justice.
So he's got principles.
Russia was trying to put together a profile of this guy and put together what seems to be like some bullshit that you see on LinkedIn, throwing in various, how LinkedIn sort of summaries of these people are, cares deeply about social justice, and they throw that stuff in there without realizing there are keywords in there that would tell a conservative that something is off. And so,
but he agreed to it anyway. I mean, they basically they had their issues with it. But let's just get back to this part here about Chen. We're trying to recruit Benny Johnson and Tim Poole. What's funny is that Tim Poole, well, maybe this isn't the one here. Okay, Tim Poole spoke to a Russian agent pretending to be a Hungarian businessman on a secure call. That's part of it. But if you could scroll down to the differences and the discrepancies in who got paid what. That's what this was up? Okay. The Russians asked Chen to recruit Benny Johnson and Tim Poole to make some content and offered $2 million a year each. Johnson said he wanted $5 million. Poole demanded $100K per episode. And apparently that's what Benny Johnson ended up getting, $400,000 a month for 4 monthly videos.
That's Ruben and that's Ruben and Poole.
Ruben and Poole. No, yeah. I know. Well, all right.
I wonder. I think this guy. Kovler is saying that Benny Johnson is commentator one, but Binder, you're saying commentator one is.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure commentator one is Ruben.
Okay.
That's the discrepancy here.
Either way, Tim Poole got the raw deal here with only $100K. Go on, guys.
Well, I mean, he's doing it for the love of the hustle. You know, he's in the right wing. You know, right wing political space for.
Well, Poole actually, I actually disagree. I think Poole got the best deal because Johnson and Rubin both had to make videos specifically for Tenet Media that became owned by Tenet Media. So 4 videos a week. Rubin's doing 4 videos a week, $400,000 a week. So that's $400,000 a month for 4 videos a week. So that's $25,000 per video. Jesus. Poole, however, just had to do his Culture War podcast that he was already doing, but live stream it on Tenet Media and then still own the rights to the podcast. He just had to do the live stream on Tenet Media and get $100,000. So Poole actually, in terms of like the money, the work money trade-off, he was doing the exact thing he was doing previously, but getting an extra $100,000. Whereas Rubin and Johnson had to make videos specifically for Tenet Media. So
this might be a good time to revisit the section from your debate with Tim Poole, where he was trying to give us some financial advice about how we should run the Majority Report.
There were a few things we could revisit. We could revisit when he said that I was to the right of him on war because he was not supportive of funding Ukraine and their defense, which is interesting, but then didn't know anything about how the top recipient of our military aid,
He was definite
Israel.
about Ukraine and, had to get back on you about our long-standing support for Israel for 75 fucking years.
But that's not what we'll be playing here. This was at the beginning of our exchange where we talk about the discrepancies in funding right-wing media versus left-wing media.
Yep, and this compilation looked like it was made from the Rational Nationals clip by @StolenDan. So there's a little bit of edits here, but I think it's pretty to the point.
Part of what we do is we try to respond to some of the right-wing ecosystem on the internet because there's a vacuum truly left. You guys have a lot more money than the left-wing media space. We just try to combat it a little bit.
I think the issue with that, I can understand why you'd say that, but it looks like this is a great way to kick off the show, actually, like the start of the culture war. I actually don't think whatever this space has more money because this is a fractured independent space of varying ideologies.
Tim, I'm in your compound right now.
Yeah, I'm rich. I mean, Sam's had way more subscribers than me for a long time.
Right.
And he just and I'm not saying this to be like mean. I'm saying if he doesn't know how to turn revenue, the issue is more so you need like a COO or somebody who's going to say, here's how we provide something to a market that generates revenue so we can expand our business. So we're better at that here, I suppose, is the easy way to put it.
Well, no, because what you say here is more attractive to investors and advertisers. I mean, we're basically only members. And okay.
That seems like a lie.
What did he say at the end there?
We have no investors.
Oh, well, I guess it's not an investment if you just get a fat check.
Yeah, we have people giving us grants for lies.
Yeah, right.
Being a useful idiot pays well.
Yeah, he still got $100K extra per week to just do what he was already doing. He didn't have to do any extra work like the other guys. He was just, who wouldn't take that?
I mean, I would probably be a little suspicious about the money because it is a lot. I think that comes from, having a very big ego, not wondering where the money's coming from. Because even that glossy page they provided for it just reads like crypto scammer. Like I would be concerned that if I saw that this person is like a scammer of some type, like they're a Tinder swindler, they're a scammer, they're in the AI startup space, and that would give me a pause. But I think
you have to disclose it to your audience.
Yeah.
Like even if they make no demands to it, if all of a sudden I was getting $25,000 per video for something. I'm going to let people know, hey, by the way, like some weird guy, you might know some changes around here.
Yeah.
Because a guy gave me a flyer with somebody on a private jet and says he wants to invest in social justice issues. So actually, don't worry about Patreon anymore. There's actually everything's going to be public. Give your money to somewhere else because we're set. I'm making $400,000.
That's exactly what I was trying to say to him in the sense where, like, just by the nature of what he does, he's more open to that kind of money coming in, and it proved it exactly. I mean, what Benny Johnson making $400,000 a month? That's more than double
That's crazy.
what I make. I mean, it is in a month, and then we're supposed to pretend like, oh, it's just because we don't have a COO over here. That's the biggest issue.
Well, you've never been fired
not to
from
gloss over
BuzzFeed.
Sam's lack of business capabilities, but
but he would proudly own that. Sorry, Brandon, go on.
Sam really needs to go out and find himself an Edward Gregorian. That's what you're telling me. I mean, he's dropping the ball here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I personally want to congratulate them on their restraint, because if I were getting paid that much, it's like you said, Matt, I would have to, disclose it because people would notice I've replaced my teeth with like solid gold shark shark teeth grills or something. He didn't even get a new hat.
Yeah, I'm showing up in Bathy's $600 headphones. Like you will notice some changes if all of a sudden I'm getting $25,000 or thereabouts for some YouTube video.
Yeah. I mean, and there are other commentators who've undergone some of those changes. Like Dave Rubin is an example. Dave Rubin is an example of a guy that presented himself as a liberal and then saw that there was more money on the other side, and he left TYT and he pursued that and he became a very rich person. And so if you're a Russian organization that's trying to influence the way that commentators are talking about the war, who would you go to except for the guy that has basically been like, I'm open for business this entire time, and has been shown that he will change his entire political philosophy based on the money that's given to him? It's incredible.
Also, you have to imagine that they realize that the audiences for people like this, like Tim Pool, like Dave Rubin, are the most susceptible to that kind of propaganda, right?
Yes.
There is that kind of like feedback loop where, preaching the virtues of neocolonialism, neoliberalism, conservatism, across those like right-wing ideologies appeals to a certain kind of mind. And those minds are the most pliable to the kinds of propaganda that foreign countries would want, not to mention that it just makes Americans' minds more reactionary and pliable.
Yes. No, Demian, writes in, just to clarify, wait, does Emma make $200,000 a month? No, I meant that was more than double than what I make in a year. I don't even make $200,000 in a year.
I'm trying to. If you're willing to work with me, there's a Patreon /expanded discourse that you can go donate to today to make this happen.
Yes.
I promise to get those shark tooth grills.
Yeah, this is a huge problem in our media. I'm looking for the video, but it was a while ago over at the Vanguard channel with Gavin and Zach. But during the COVID stuff, a bunch of different independent, even lefty outlets were getting a large chunk of cash. I mean, not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but like a few thousand in their Patreons. And the Vanguard guys said that disappeared for them when they came out and supported like a strong public response to COVID and didn't deny it. So this is a problem. These dark money influence operations buying up independent media is a huge problem.
It is. Do we have that video also of Tim Pool last week talking about money that's being poured into media from different countries? Sounds like a little bit of projection here. Do you have a sense that this indictment was being handed down?
So I think, I was talking in the intro to the show about OnlyFans. I think a large component of what we're seeing is actually China, Iran, Russia, and other countries funding this kind of disarray intentionally. I would not be surprised if a large component of OnlyFans contributions comes from China. So I think
China.
China.
I think it's funny that he points to OnlyFans like sexually explicit content as being what's leading to the degradation of American society when it's just content like his. he makes a different kind of pornography for a different kind of porn addict. The same kind of shallow emotional gratification that some people get from looking at sexually explicit material, like his fans get from looking at a man in a beanie run interference for a genocide state.
I also want to point out that I think a lot of people who look at these stories of foreign influence, especially from Russia, and they sort of have it backwards in terms of like what's going on here. A lot of people sort of look at it as like, oh, they're taking what Putin wants them to spread, and they're spewing the propaganda. But it really is the other way around. Like, for example, we know in this indictment, based on the Justice Department's own investigation, that someone like Tim Pool wasn't fully, well, he probably should have asked more questions and been more aware of what's going on and where this money's coming from. It doesn't appear like he knew exactly where it was coming from. But they don't need to get someone like Pool to say what they want him to say. Like, that wasn't the point of getting someone like a Rubin or a Pool. They were looking for people who already shared the vast majority of what they wanted to spread. They didn't need to say anything. And they were looking for someone like a Rubin or a Pool with a huge audience to bring people to that channel where there would be those smaller creators who would be doing exactly what they were asking them to do. Like, Rubin and Pool were picked not because they wanted Rubin and Pool to say exactly what they wanted them to say. Rubin and Pool were picked because they were already saying exactly what they wanted them to say.
But that's how most conspiracies like this work. That's how most of the manufactured consent that we see in our media works too. It's like you wouldn't be in these positions to say these things if you believed it differently. And then you kind of keep chasing that, not dragging, because that's not the right analogy, but you keep chasing those viewers. You keep chasing that gratification by appealing to those people, which can push you further to the left, push you further to the right, push you further into the pocket of big business, of certain special interest groups. And so, yeah, I could definitely see foreign countries looking at the kind of content that Tim Pool and Dave Rubin make and go like, oh yeah, we gotta like fund this. We gotta fund this. It's, I don't know, is China behind Coco Melon, all the other stuff that makes our society slightly more, slightly less able to discern fact from fiction. So yeah, it's not as though America's above doing this in other countries either. So.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. We definitely do. And it's just interesting though, like it's obvious why Tim Pool, the guy just shouting hysterically, the Chicken Little about Civil War all the time. Like, yeah, easy. Like we can support that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, I'm going to open up the phone lines in case people want to call in. 646-257-3920. Let's read some IMs about this. Godless Heathen. Tim Pool says, no, Emma, you don't understand. I know other countries are funding propaganda. I know they are. Juniper J, I think a good portion of OnlyFans revenue comes from the North Carolina gubernatorial candidate.
No, famously, he was not paying for any of that. He was he was watching the trailers. so those are free. So you go down the booth, you just watch trailers all day. And that's enough for some people, I guess.
It comes from...
As long as you bring pizza for the guy upstairs, you can go down and enjoy yourself in the booth, apparently.
It comes from George Santos, obviously.
Obviously. Dan from Columbus says, don't judge Benny for taking the bag. He needs the money to be able to go on more cruises.
I don't know what that's referring to, but Benny is one of the dumbest people in this space.
Yes. Severe Leftist says, oh, how much I wish Sam was here to respond to the Pool Rubin bombshell with you guys. I mean, we're doing this again tomorrow. I hope you understand. This is going to
be a long-term thing.
Calvin from Waterford, did Tim get back to you on Israel? No.
No, Tim has been smearing protesters as anti-Semitic, as the Zionists. I'd be curious. I mean, that's the other thing I'm curious about is how much Israel money is swimming around, because I think probably DOJ is going to be less interested in that because that's an ally apparently. But I imagine probably doing some spending there too.
Calling from a 773 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Well, if you're talking to me, it's Tim's dad. I'm in Utah.
Hey.
Oh, you hear me now?
Yeah, Tim Pool's. Is this Tim Pool's actual dad?
Well, that's what the birth certificate said. I'd have to ask his mom, though, to be sure.
Well, okay, so
Yes, this is Tim's dad.
I don't. Yeah, I've seen you comment before on our show, so I just want to. This is the same Tim Pool's dad that had commented before.
And we can't confirm this,
Correct.
but says you, and we'll
We're taking your
operate
word for
that.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see your
It's
beanie.
the same guy that was happy with your response when you were on Tim's show, and that I argued calling you a PDF based upon your against book banning was moronic. But
Right.
yeah, it's me.
Oh well.
What's
Now,
your reaction?
I'm here to talk to you. Now, I'm not going to crap on my son. He's still
Right.
my son. I disagree with many of his productions. And if you watch, I do have videos that address when I disagree with his productions.
Well,
Right.
so you do have a YouTube channel, right? What's your reaction to this story that essentially Tim seems to have gotten money via unwittingly, but from Russian assets essentially, who want there to be more anti-Ukraine content out there?
Well, most of the production on the right supports, unfortunately, what Russia wants to sell. Now, me personally, I go with the DOJ, all right, because what they're saying is these YouTubers, Ruben and Tim, contracted with a company in Tennessee that was owned by two Canadians. Now, what's the due diligence expected to find out exactly where all the money comes from? Now, I don't support his most of his products don't really concern me. A lot of them are social things that don't really make a difference. But when I hear, views on the LGBTQ, or when I see things about the Ukraine, look, the Ukraine didn't ask for Russia to invade. So do I like money going out to Ukraine? I don't like money going to anybody when we have a $36 trillion deficit. Okay. But if we don't stop Putin like we didn't with Crimea, he's going to be emboldened. So we have to at least support Ukraine, or we're going to eventually put our own people on the ground. And I don't support that. But right now I'm looking at this from the DOJ's perspective. And until they get a better look into the investigation, I'm going to defer to them that all Ruben, Tim, and these other guys did was take the money and run. And Tim, on his show, said that he basically just licensed the production that he already does for them to show. So people on the left or right are going to take their own viewpoints. I'm trying to be impartial and non-biased when I deal with my son as when I deal with all left or rights. I've gone into some left-leaning publications that I get called out when I actually give an unbiased look into it, and they start, FMing me because it doesn't coincide with their echoes. And so I try to be true. I try to be impartial. I don't agree with a lot of his productions, and then I voice it. Now, I don't directly attack the person. I attack the production. And when people start attacking the person, like when Tim called you a PDF because you were against book banning, I'm like, no, you just lost the disagreement because now you're not addressing the individual topic. You're going after the person. So that's my viewpoints, and that's where I stand on most of that.
I
Mr.
appreciate
Poole,
that.
I want a question.
Sure,
a
go
question
ahead.
for you.
Yep.
His first initial response is saying that he's in fact a victim of this. What's your reaction to that? Do you think that's an advised way to, respond to this?
Well, PR is a big moneymaker in this world, and if you don't respond properly, you just hung yourself. So calling yourself a victim probably isn't the way to go. I mean, that's acting like a victim has no control over what happens. It's like when somebody says she asked for it because she had a high skirt. Well, she doesn't come out and say she's a victim because she wore a skirt. So, yeah, probably not the best choice of words, but a lot of the times in his video productions, I don't like his choice of words.
Yeah.
But he's selling a product to people that want to buy the product. So as long as he's not complicit with Russia, I'm going to not hang him. I'm not going to hang him.
Well,
we don't want
that either.
No.
Yeah, I'm curious though.
Discredit permanently.
There's been a lot of money pouring in, I guess, for Tim and for his. Obviously, I went to his compound. I saw where he's at there. I mean, what's your reaction to how much money Tim has really been making in this space, even though obviously you have some disagreements with what he's putting out there?
I can't comment to how much he's making. I mean, yeah, he puts on a show and he shows a skateboard park. I'm like, me personally, if I was making money on my videos, I wouldn't be telling you how much I'm making. I mean, not to be, hiding or anything, but if you're in a business and you don't tell the people giving you money to support your product that you're going out and spending it on a skateboard park or thing. So I don't agree with him on showing it, but I don't know how much he makes. I don't talk to him about his money, his business. It's his. I don't, people challenge me on my videos saying that I'm jealous of his success and I want his money. And I'm like, where do you think I live? Do you think I'm in the gutter somewhere? Or I don't need his money. So what's your, they're just.
Well, then
trolls
people may ask
throwing
Mr.
it out
Poole, why call into our show?
It's Mike.
Oh,
It's
Mike.
Well, no, because I watch your show and I put in comments, sometimes and this is a discussion.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people, I don't like, I'm not, who's the man with the beard? I'm lousy on names.
Sam Seder.
Or Matt Bender.
No.
Or if you're talking about me right here, then I'm Matt.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Matt seems pretty, see, I always listen to make sure that people are trying to be fair and not biased. And you guys seem to present that pretty good. And Matt is speaking fairly, where most people are going to sit there and start, calling Tim a complete Russian asset, that he was raised in Russia, something, and slowly brought over to America, but Matt seemed pretty fair, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm just like, I don't want social platforms to be left or right. I want impartiality, and I want both sides of the story. And Matt seems to be putting it out there in a fair, unbiased way. So I thought I'd call in and put in my 2 cents, because, like I say, I only go with the DOJ, and I get into arguments with my sons because they evidently go by a preponderance of the evidence. Well, no, I need definitive facts before I hang you. I'm not going to hang you based upon hearsay or things like that, and that's why we disagree. I'm more definitive, legally based when I hang somebody.
Right.
That makes
I
sense.
first of all, I appreciate that, Mike. And I want to say that from what it looks like, you just looking at the evidence and everything, it's just it appears that that's the story that we know to be true as of right now, and that is that people like Poole and Rubin were not told the full information. Now we can talk about how they should have gotten more information, and they should have, but with what they did know, they did not have any idea that there was 2 RT employees at the behest of the Russian government working to basically build up this Tenet media channel using Tim Poole and Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson's audience. But like I did say, I do think that they picked those individuals because they felt like that they had already aligned with their interests based on, what they previously have said in videos.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to start buying somebody's videos unless they reference what I'm trying to sell. Okay,
Right.
So 100%. And like I say, that's fair. When I get out there, I expect people to address the topic, not because they dislike Tim or Ruben because of the products they sell. And believe me, I'm not going out there telling people I appreciate Tim and his podcast and his position. Like I say, if you look at some of the videos, I think I started a long time ago, like a year ago, and I put out 1,000. I keep them short, 5 minutes, and I try to just give my perspective, whether it's life in general or if it's addressing one of Tim's. I don't do it a lot, but I just try to, I'm a Marine, I'm a firefighter. I got a few things in my brain that I might be able to share, and that's what I do. Now, in this instance, am I defending Tim? Am I being biased? I'm just deferring to the DOJ. Now, until they come out with the whole story. Now, quickly, as a fireman, we would be at incidents, a fire, an explosion, car. We'd get back to the firehouse and we'd turn on the news. And guess what? They're talking about where we just came from, and they are totally wrong. They're trying to be the first to address the topic, to try to get you to zoom in, to stay with their channel, and then eventually they get it right. So I always kind of defer till, let's get the whole story before you hang somebody. That's all. And you guys are seeing, I like the way you report. You're pretty, you called him out for some, idiotic questions, but for the most part, I think you're fair on both sides of the fence when you address topics, and that's why I'm actually talking to you.
I appreciate that. Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Do you, we'll let you go in a sec, but I just, do you have a sense of Does Tim like your videos? Does he appreciate, you calling?
Has he ever mentioned them at all
into
to
this
you?
show? Yeah. Does he mention them? I mean, I know that I don't think he has very kind feelings about myself or Sam or Matt Binder for that matter. So I guess I'm just interested what his perspective is on you watching our show and calling in.
Oh, I don't discuss politics. I got into an hour-long, disagreement with my other son, going back and forth over alternate or fake electors. And luckily, my hike didn't take me long at all because I didn't realize where I was. But yeah, I mean, we don't discuss, his topics. I don't even know. I asked him once if he knew I had my own video production. I don't think he pays attention to things that really aren't impacting him. And I mean, he is pretty busy pushing, selling, doing his things, and more power to him. He's created something. And now if he owned a gun shop, I don't think I'd be happy with him selling guns, but it is a product that people buy. So am I going to hang him because he's producing something that half of the people want to listen to? Unfortunately, I have always questioned, where does the money come on both sides? You can't divide America unless you have two sides, and we have both sides. And maybe we need to look at see where all the money comes in. I don't know whether it's revenue from the video productions, if it's donations, because you have memberships now. And usually I don't even go to a place. If I can't comment without paying a membership, I move on.
I hear you.
Right.
All right.
That's why I like you guys. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for
Appreciate
the
that.
kind words. Appreciate it. And where can people find your YouTube channel, Mike?
Tim Pool's dad. It's just Tim Pool's dad.
Tim Pool's dad. All right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
but like I say, I aggravate a bunch of people, and I love dealing with ignorant trolls that attack me personally rather than the topic because it's just so easy to debate.
Do you hear from Tim's audience, and are those the types that you're talking about? Like, do they get angry that you disagree with your son on political topics?
Oh yeah, they're the ones that call me and say I'm jealous of his success, and a lot of times I'll actually go into his video productions, and then I call out the stupid people that are making stupid comments, and they just love that. I mean, I'm just saying, like they'll say something like the alternate electors, why is that criminal? Well, because the state didn't pick them; they decided themselves, so they are fake by statute, not by my interpretation, and. That's when they call off saying, "Oh, you just want his money," and I'm just like, "What are you insane?" I mean, and I did a video the other day about success, because they're comparing me. They say, "Well, Elon's more intelligent and successful than you." I said, "Well, first off, you don't know me, you don't know him, so you don't know how intelligent we are. And second, success is a subjective interpretation. So, I've got everything I need. I got a wife, a beautiful wife, my dog, my family I talk to. So for me, being a Marine and a former firefighter, yeah, I think I've been pretty successful in my life. And I think people, are
more honorable life than Elon Musk.
Well, what I'm just saying is, when I finally take my last breath, I'll remember all the people I was able to help when they were in their worst possible situation. And I'll find comfort in that as I close those eyes. That's what I find as being successful. None of my kids are killers. They're not in prison yet, so I'm going for that so far.
There you go.
There you go. Well, I appreciate the sentiment, and thank you for being so open-minded and calling in and giving us your perspective on what's happening.
And for listening.
With Tim and for listening. Yeah, of course.
Well, like I say, your crews and everything seem pretty fair. I haven't had anybody MF me yet in the, in the comments or anything. And like I say, your perspective doesn't have to match mine, and that doesn't mean one's wrong. And that's what I try to explain to people. You can see something from a different side than me. We can have different perspectives, but it doesn't mean either one of us are wrong. We can discuss it and determine why they're different. That's all.
Precisely.
Here.
But I appreciate you guys. I do think you are. I think you are a truthful organization that puts out counter, thoughts. And the problem is here we can't discuss to find out how to fix the problem. We just want to throw rocks at the other people for having a problem, and we're not going to get anywhere until we finally decide to address the problem in a manner to try to fix it, rather than making money by volleying it back and forth. And I'm not crapping on you guys. I'm just saying this is the way it goes. We go back and forth. And now you're going to have people on the left having a shark frenzy on Tim, calling him, a Russian asset and a Russian bot and all this, because that's the way we're going rather than address the problem. So I want America to get off their dumb butts and get back to where we used to be and discuss the problem without trying to rip somebody's trachea out because they disagree with us.
Agreed. Thank you so much for calling in.
Well, thank you guys for taking my time. I've tried calling in before, but I never get through the.
Some of our viewers alerted us that you were trying to call in, so I'm glad that.
Autumn was great. Yeah,
Moderator Autumn.
Thank you for our mods.
Autumn was putting it out. Yeah, Autumn was I don't know gender or anything, but Autumn was putting out the shop pretty good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Autumn. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
Thanks,
all right?
Autumn. No, thank you guys, and stay truthful. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
What a great call.
Great call.
I enjoyed Tim Pool's dad having kind words for the whole show, but also me specifically. I should grab that quote, Matt Binder, very truthful, and just put Tim Pool's dad is like on my website.
we may not be on the same page politically, but it was very funny.
Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I was just saying we may not always be on the same page politically with Mr. Tim Pool's dad, but that sure was funny. So,
Exactly, but we can find consensus.
What I thought was amazing was he was very careful about Autumn, the moderators. He didn't know their gender, and so he was careful about that. It's something that Tim Pool would not be a fan of doing. He wouldn't deal with that.
Yeah, no, I think, if we learned one thing, it's that it's not the fault of the parent when Tim Pool makes a mistake or goes down some sort of a reactionary thing. It's on our boy Tim himself.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I also think it's indicative of the kind of people who listen to Tim Pool. Like, they're not even reasonable centrists. They're far right. They're far right ideologues. Like, children who are being radicalized into this very young, and that's why the money is flowing to these people because. Right. That's like you get them while they're young. I'd be interested to see if Russian money was going to any of those Manosphere podcasts, or maybe it's Chinese money.
Yes, that would be interesting to see. There's a lot of money sloshing around that I think you mentioned earlier, that anti-vax money that some people were offered and some people seemingly took.
Yeah, independent media is massively important, and it has had an incredibly big impact on the world. I think the way the American people have reacted to what's going on in Gaza is in part responsive to that, and Mexico has had its own sort of things like that we talked about with Kurt and stuff. But I don't know. It can be bought cheaply. And there are like a lot of those Manosphere guys, I can't remember what their names are, but the ones that appeared on Tim Pool.
Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, like one of the money issues severely. Like when that stuff comes public, if I'm a rich person and I see, that person has a platform and also might be way behind on their taxes.
Yeah.
That is a cheap asset. And I would point to Russell Brand as somebody who I think has been entirely bought because he had grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and then a certain level of opportunity dried up, and all of a sudden he's performing for Ron DeSantis.
Worcester Gregorian says, please ask Mike why his son wears a beanie. Between the 101 and the 5.
We don't get into politics.
Tim's dad, holy shit. Mr. Spiff Twitch, very cool and surprising how much love y'all got from Tim Pool's gigacentrist dad. Crusty Trombone, Tim Pool, I think you mean Mike Pool's son. R in Kentucky, it's crazy that Tim's dad listens to MR. The Amazing Grando, it's important for MR coastal elites to experience a proper Midwest goodbye. I assume Matt's a little homesick now. I guess that was in reference to the call.
Who did the Midwest goodbye? I don't understand.
I guess Mike.
Okay. Can't say goodbye? Is that Midwest goodbye? I don't even know that.
TSA are in Atlanta, so Tim's dad is cool as shit. Dan Dan from Columbus, my previous IM about Benny and cruises was in reference to him complaining on Twitter that he was getting targeted ads for gay cruises on the Military Times or something like that. That's hilarious.
Right, yeah. Why?
Those are suggested advertisements, by the way, based on your browser history.
Yeah. It's one
Yeah.
line show like running shoes.
Hogtown. Ruben and Poole sounds like an 80s PI procedural, like Simon and Simon or Jake and the Fat Man.
It just does make it interesting that he was so defensive about Dave Rubin. So why are you guys so obsessed with fellow tenant stablemate Dave Rubin?
Yes.
Leave fellow tenant stablemate Dave Rubin alone.
Kami Tree, $100,000 per week is just a very committed subscriber.
I'd like some of those committed subscribers, I'll tell you that.
Meaningless poll, no signing bonus for Tim. He still doesn't have a lawyer even after that lawsuit a few months ago where he falsely identified a mass shooter and he tried to represent himself. Oh, that's still
I
pending.
think he settled out of court, didn't he? I can't remember. Well, there's a bunch of legal issues with Tim, including the one he announced yesterday where he's suing the Kamala Harris campaign. I think lawyers
guys
might be
cover
like,
that?
Yeah, we did. And I think maybe his counsel's like, hey, let's try to focus on the actual massive problem that is going to drop tomorrow instead of suing Kamala Harris's campaign.
Meg MCA, please someone give Tim a Russian doll nesting. Please, someone please give Tim a Russian nesting doll of the MR staff.
It'd be great to have a Tim Pool Russian nesting doll, but you just take off like the beanie on each of them, and that's where the split happens.
Hogtown, work sushi and Putin with the boys.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.